This evening I was trying to think, what can I say about this? What can I say about what I have learnt from other religious traditions? I could give you one or two rather sort of vague things which indicate that I've thought a little bit more about my own faith as a Christian, particularly as a Christian involved with Buddhism. But I'm going to give you one little example, and it's an appropriate one this evening, from Islam, and from Shia Islam. It comes from a conversation I had in the back of a bus travelling from Qom to Tehran about 3 or 4 years ago. The driver was going hell for leather up the road, driving right up against the car in front, flashing his lights until the guy got out of the road and he went round. I was terrified, and I was distracted by a conversation I was having with my Shia friend, who was trying to tell me all about what Islam was really all about. I can't remember very much about the conversation. I was too terrified by what was happening in front of me. However, I remember 3 words. What this man said was, Shia Islam is about 3 things which have to be held together: spirituality, rationality, and justice. And that, I think, is something that we can learn as we try to engage with other religious traditions, trying to spot, perhaps, trying to understand how it is that the other person that I'm talking to configures those 3 values. What are they? Well, the way I understand it is that spirituality is something to do with the feelings, the emotions, the affect, shall we say. It's something which begins in the heart. It's the affective side of our lives, the experiential side. I think we can all relate to that. Reason, rationality, that speaks for itself. We are people who have to think. We have, all of us, a religious tradition which in many ways is codified in words and in creeds and in statements. And those are important, but they have to be rooted in the heart. That's why spirituality, rationality or reason have to be held together. But the one I want to focus on just for a moment is the third, because I think that is so important. The theme of justice. How does justice come into our interreligious work? How does it affect us and change us and give us something to learn? Justice, I see, is there in the face of the other person, and in the other person who's different from me, because that person is unique, clearly, and is not me, and yet I share something important with that person. Cardinal Hume, I used to work with Cardinal Hume quite closely on interreligious relations. He would give a little talk at any meeting that we had with people of faith. And he'd come up to me before he was giving this talk and said, Michael, I've got really nothing to say. All I want to say is that we share a common humanity. And I said, just say that. And he would take his 5 minutes or so just to say that. We share a common humanity. When I meet a person of another faith, I see somebody face to face. That person is different, and yet we share a common humanity. That's where justice comes into all this. The justice which comes out of my understanding of that rather difficult but crucially important correlation, put it like that, of difference and otherness, even strangeness, and yet sameness. And that's what we have to learn. That we do share so much in common, even though we are different, and we have to respect those differences. I think that's really all I want to say this evening. But just to go back to my opening point. Interreligious relations, it seems to me, is all about learning. It's about learning who we are as people who have a faith, an understanding, a tradition to which we owe a certain loyalty, faithfulness, I call it. And at the same time, we have to recognize that that other person that we're dealing with, that person face to face with me, also has a faith, has a faithfulness, has an integrity of faith, and seeks to be faithful to that. I have to be faithful to my own tradition. I have to be open to what other people are trying to say to me.